Welcome to another edition of the Game Changer. And as ever, we have the trailblazers from up and down the country. And yet again, we have another guest who has been setting the Sri Lankan football scene on fire recently. And we're going to find out as much as we can about his journey within football. And more importantly, his recent rise to fame in Sri Lanka. So, without any further ado, let me introduce you to my guest for today. We have Marv Hamilton. Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
No problem. How are you doing?
Not too bad. Not too bad.
Good lad. So listen, thank you for coming on today. Lots to talk about. You're one of the first international footballers we've had on the show.
Yeah.
We've had some amazing guests, but I'm really looking forward to today. Just really more importantly to learn about your journey. So Marvin, You've been in the football scene. You're now 33.
Yeah.
You started your journey, 15, 20 years ago now in the football UK scene. Yeah. But many will look at you and think, Sri Lankan footballer.
Yeah.
So before we get anywhere else, I think that is something I really want to learn about in terms of how that happened. A lad who's grown up in East London through the non-league scene, and then suddenly, in the latter end of his career, ends up playing for Sri Lanka in the World Cup qualifier just last year. But let's start at the very beginning. So tell us about how and why you wanted to get into football, growing up in Leytonstone in East London, where it all started for you.
Yeah, so pretty much in school, in primary school, everyone plays football. And that's where my love grew for football. And all my friends play football. Everyone just, it was just a thing to do. So, just started off as playing in Sunday League. With a few of my friends, and just took it from there. Really went into secondary school, and some of my friends played for pro teams at that time. So all I knew was about the Premiership teams. All I needed was Arsenal, Man United, Chelsea, Tottenham. I didn't know that there was 92 professional teams in the UK. So was just reaching to try and get into the Prem, basically. Yeah, that's how it started.
Okay, so your first club was Gillingham, yeah. Gillingham, and so how did that come about? Because again, you're an East London lad. How did they spot you? So
basically, I was just training with a few of my friends. We just got together, we used to train, and one of my friends, he had a game, like an in-house game, where scouts would go and watch him and all that stuff. So he played in it, and Gillingham scouted him and wanted to take him in. And he spoke to the manager. The manager just asked him, "Have you got any more decent players around your area?" And he said, yeah, he told him about me, and I ended up going training there, trained a couple of times, played a few games, and then next thing you know, they said they wanted to offer me a scholarship.
So Gillingham at that stage was where were they playing?
They were in League One at the time.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what was, just as a East London kid, would not really be, you'd been in and around with trials, etc.
Yeah.
So you'd gone into the system with Gillingham. How old were you then?
I was 16.
16. So tell us about that experience.
So getting into that, it was quite late, because when you're getting your scholarship, you'd probably know when you're like, 14, 15 and you're at a pro club. Yeah. So, leaving school, not getting a professional, contract anywhere was like tough, because all my friends are getting it. It was tough. So literally I got lucky. I trained well at the time and I played well at the time. And luckily enough, the manager liked me, and that was it. It is a tough time to go into a club, because you're fighting against your teammates basically for a contract. But at the end of the day, if it's one contract there and 20 players, you're going to fight your hardest to get it.
Okay.
So that's how. My,
and in terms of what does support look like? Because a question we get a lot is from a youth perspective.
Yeah.
The amount of effort and time, family structure, and how important that is. Did your parents play a big role in that?
My brother did, yeah. My brother and my mum, to be fair, they supported me. They helped me. They wanted me to chase my dreams. So,
okay.
And I'm a big believer on doing what you love. So, and so are my parents, and so is my brother.
Okay.
And they helped out.
So you're at Gillingham. When did you get your first opportunity in the first team?
It was a funny one. It was actually a funny one. So, basically. When I was about 16, 17, I wasn't the most clued up, or I wasn't the most, the person that concentrates the most. I was, when it was raining, freezing cold, I would be, watching. So the youth team would train here, the first team would train there, and the manager's stopping and starting it, and it's freezing cold. I've got my hands down my shorts. I'm looking over there because they're just laughing and joking, and I'm just like not interested. Manager knows that I'm just not listening, so he's sending me home. Like I'm always getting sent home, in training. So I didn't have the greatest attitude at the start because I had come into that club thinking like League One. I don't know none of the first team players.
Yeah.
I don't know this club. I don't know anybody. That's how I came into it because I was oblivious to all of it. All I knew was Premiership. So one time I was literally waiting because where we trained, we had got changed at the ground and then drove to the training ground. So I didn't drive, so I was waiting, and the first team manager had come up and he was like, why are you sitting there, Marvin? And I was like, the manager sent me home. And he was like, what for? And I just said, I don't know, I was just looking at you guys. He goes, all right, tomorrow, come train with us.
Wow.
So that's how I got literally my first training session with the first team.
And who was the manager at the time?
Ronnie Jepson.
So you're sat in a car park, and that's where your opportunity came from.
Yeah.
First team football.
Basically being naughty and then
we don't advocate that.
Yeah.
But yeah,
it's crazy.
Funny, but like I said, you got an opportunity because your mate suggested you to the guy.
Yeah.
And now, once again, so it goes to show being in the right place at the right time does make a massive difference as well.
Yeah.
So you're now training with the first team at Gillingham.
Yeah.
What happens?
So my first session, I remember it clearly. I had the attitude as, this is League One. I don't know nobody. I don't think it's great. I had came in there and I just not bossed the session, but I was confident. I was super confident. I was getting on the ball, I was passing, I was moving. And as soon as the manager saw that, he loved it. I wasn't scared. So, trained with them a few times. And then I was I was in and out training with the first team. And then my first opportunity was in pre-season where I came.
And how old are you at this stage now?
I was 18.
So 18, okay.
Yeah.
So you've been at the club for 2 years now.
Yeah, and I was on the bench against, I think it was Colchester. It was a friendly, pre-season friendly. And I came on for the last 20 minutes and I done really well.
Okay.
Done really well. And I think that was the game that got me my professional contract, literally that 20 minutes.
Wow. And then your first professional game was versus who?
First professional game was against Luton away.
Okay.
Yeah. We lost that game, but I came on in the first half, first 25 minutes I came on.
Okay.
I was baffed. I was literally warming up. It was the first time I was with the first team, as in in a league game. I'm just warming up with some of the boys, and someone's gone down, and the manager's looking over, and we was in the corner, and he's calling us. He's calling me. He's saying, Marv. I'm looking around thinking, no, he's not calling me. And he's like, kind of like that, and I just ran over, and he was like, yeah, you're coming on. And then literally as soon as I come on, I got the ball straight away, ran at somebody and just crossed it and then got a buzz off it and that was it.
That was done, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. So you played 15 times for Gillingham, right? From manager as things happen in this stuff. So manager moves on, and that was your was that chance then to move on, or whose decision was that?
So that was probably the new manager that came in, his decision. He didn't want me basically. He just said that I wasn't really hungry enough, and which was strange because if anything, I was starving. I was starving at that time, and so he just said that I wasn't in his plans. And to be fair, new manager comes in, and that's what happens,
So is that something you've got used to over the years?
That's something I knew. That's something I knew. I don't know if I say you can get used to that, but I think that's what you know. If you know that already beforehand, then it's not new. It's not new to you. So,
okay. And your journey kind of in non-league then really started. You've gone from, I'm looking down the list, there seems to be a lot of clubs over the years. 2008 you moved to Folkestone, Dover, and then in 2010 you decided to take a total new direction. And we've just talked about it off air. You decided to join the Cypriot team. Yeah. APEP.
Yeah.
How does that happen, and why do you make that decision?
So at the time my agent, he was a Greek guy.
Okay.
So he had some good links in Cyprus. One of his clients that he was looking after, a manager, he just got a job there, and he just said to me, Marv, in January, do you wanna go to Cyprus? And I didn't even know where the country was. When I tell you, when I was young and stupid, I was young and dumb. I just didn't know. I knew I was smart, as in street smart, and I was book smart, but I just didn't, I didn't concentrate on anything else. I just wanted to go to the Prem. Literally, even if I've been released from a club, I've never been in a Premiership club.
Which is interesting. It tells you a lot, and I think on this show we talk about the journey of footballers, the journey of how kids can progress in the game. And I'm at the stage now, we're coming, and that's why it's brilliant that you've got you on. Non-league is a way forward. Non-league is a door that you should consider to open, because it opens so many opportunities, and 100%. You're a prime example of that. And you've been through not just the non-league, but you've been from the beginning with Gillingham all the way to where you are right now. It's opportunities. Yeah. You know, you've been to the Cypriot League, you played with APAP, and it's like, that's another experience in itself. And you just said it. Yeah. You weren't aware of Gillingham, and I don't think many kids probably growing up in East London, or any kid. Yeah. Like you said, the focus is always on the stars at Premiership and in the Spanish leagues and the Italian leagues. Yeah. How many know the Gillinghams? And this is often where journeys start. Yeah. So you've gone to AP. What was that experience like? Because we've talked about it in terms of passion, in terms of numbers, coming to games. Yeah. What division was APAP?
So it was the top division, first division. And I'd gone over there planning I'll be there for a week. And so I trained on the Monday, the Tuesday. And what I was fascinated with, my first impression was that there was so many different nationalities. There was, in the team that I was in, there was 17 different nationalities. Wow. So culturally, it was nice to see, you know, different type, you know, I was learning different languages. I was just in a different environment, so it was cool. I grew up quite quick, and yeah, so that was the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then the Thursday, the manager pulled me and said, "Look, we want to offer you a contract. This is the deal. Do you want to sign?" And I just said, "You know what? I'm here. Might as well sign." So I signed. And didn't even come back home until like the end of the season. So
you played 26 games out there. That's practically a season, I guess. Yeah. So what was that experience like in general? Apart from obviously culturally, it was an experience for you. But is that something when you look back on with pride, and something that's helped you? Yeah, no,
100%. It's definitely helped me. Moving out and living by myself was not easy, but I had to get used to cooking. I had to get used to just fending on myself, you know.
So that was really the beginning of your flavour of, I guess, being out of your comfort zone, obviously, in terms of going to a different country. I'll ask this question later on again when we talk about your international experiences, but how did the football in Cyprus differ to the football you're playing in the UK? What was the kind of the changes that you noticed?
So the differences was 100% the tempo. The tempo was a lot slower. It was less physical, and it was probably a bit more tactical. Yeah, so culturally, it was just a total change, complete opposite, I would say, to English football, the way I grew up anyway. And I learned a lot. You know, I learned how to be patient with the ball. And for me, in my game, I feel like I'm good on the ball, and I want to be on the ball as well. But being able to change the tempo is something I learned. In Cyprus.
So is that something that's coached? Is definitely coached slightly more than here? Is that something you worked on growing up here?
Yeah, here, growing up, it was pretty much 100% go as fast as you can. Yeah. You know, quick tempo, everything's done fast, one touch. But over there, it's a lot more take a touch, pass, see your pass, then pass. Okay. So it's a lot different.
Okay, interesting. So then, one season, you decide to come back. Is that through choice, or was that just through something you'd had enough for? What was the reason for coming back?
It was through choice. We got relegated from the top division. Okay. And I felt like it was time to come home.
All right, so you come back to Hemel Hempstead, and you had a season there. What level of football was that, though?
That was Ryman Prem at the time.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then that's really when you started. I'm looking down your CV in terms of clubs. The two clubs that are sticking out are Eastbourne Borough. Yeah. It looks like you've been back there a few times. Yeah. And also we're looking at Whitehawks, aren't we? Yeah. So you've then now obviously you've done the cycle. You're in the non-league system. Yeah. All right. So tell us a bit about your non-league, and what is non-league like for those players out there who might be 20, 21, been released from the system, or very good, you know, step 5, step 6 footballers who want to get into clubs like Eastbourne Borough, clubs like Ware, clubs like Dover. Mm-hmm. What does it require, and what does it take for you to be playing at a good level of non-league? We're talking about, you know, Eastbourne Prem, Conference South, Conference North. What does it take?
It takes commitment, and it takes you to basically want to play at a lower level, whether it's not step 2, you know, Conference South. So if you're a young boy, 2021, and the only club you can get into is a step 4 or step 5 club, it's for you to play in that club and consistently play. You know, it's not like play 3-4 games and that's it. Yeah, I can nick a move. It's literally you need to play 10, 15, 20 plus games. Play a whole season. If you're 18, 19, 20 and you're playing in step 5 and you're playing a whole season, that's not bad. That's not bad. That's a step up. That's a step up for the next manager who's going to look at you and say, where did you play last year? I played step 5, played every single game.
Yeah.
Okay, then you're consistent and you're trustworthy.
Yeah.
That's one, you know, that's things that managers are looking out for. So I would say consistency and playing at a level. Everyone wants to play at a higher level, but if you have to take a step down to play consistently at that level, not sit on the bench, go and do that, and then you never know because loads, you know, I've been through non-league quite a lot, and loads of the teams that I've played for, I've played in teams and there's young boys in them teams that can play higher up. And
I hear that a lot.
Yeah.
But why are they not playing higher up then?
Because they're not consistently playing at that level. And the ones that are, they do move up. They move up. It might not be in one season. It might be 2-3 seasons. And I've played with a lot of boys that have gone from non-league to pro clubs.
To describe the type of football, we talked about Cypriot football. We talked about tempo. We talked about, you know, your coaching when you were playing and the difference between the two. How would you describe coaching and football styles and non-league? What would it take, for example, in your position, someone who plays a holding midfielding role or a box-to-box midfielder, what is a manager looking for at your level?
Someone it depends really. So I would say if you're an older head like me, then someone who's probably going to calm the team down and try and help out the boys around them. And if you're someone who's young, fitness, you know, you just got to be up and down non-stop. And if you're someone who's in the middle age, who's looking to move on, then bring quality, you know. Quality as in like your goal scoring, your assists, or whether you defend well. It's got to be something like that. But again, it goes back to just you and your commitment, because non-leagues is not, it's 3 times a week at least, minimum. And sometimes you're playing 2 games a week. And sometimes you look at the Premiership managers and they're complaining about they got to play a game on Monday, they got to play a game on a Thursday and then a Sunday. And it's like, all right, cool, 3 games, but really and truly, you're pro, you're training every day and your fitness should be great. And you know, you've got everything you need. And non-league, these guys, we're doing it Tuesday, Saturday, Tuesday, Saturday, Tuesday, Saturday. And you know, some of us are doing it for money, some of us are doing it because we love the game. But it's not easy, it's not easy, you know. And obviously, apart from non-league, being non-league, you have to have a job and you have to work as well to earn your money. So it's difficult.
Okay, so obviously you're a veteran in non-league terms in terms of being around, right? So you've been. What is the highlight of your non-league journey in terms of playing for a club? What was your the highest moment within non-league football?
I'll probably say getting into the Conference South playoff final.
Wow.
Yeah.
And who was that with?
That was with White Hawk.
Okay.
And we played against Bournemouth and we lost.
What year was that?
2-1. I think that was 2016, I want to say.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And where these finals? Where are they? Playoff finals. Where would you play these?
We played the playoff final. It was I can't remember how they worked it out, but it was at Bournemouth's ground.
Okay.
Yeah. So it was either home or away.
Right.
So we played it at Bournemouth.
So that's the highlight of your non-league. But then obviously moving up now. Now let's talk about the elephant in the room, right? So we're here. With your experience with the Sri Lankan, the national team. Okay. How the hell does that happen? And is that something you'd ever thought about? But more importantly, let's start in terms of to look at you. People, I'm going to be very frank. You wouldn't think, oh, he's Sri Lankan.
Yeah.
All right. So you got dual heritage.
Yeah.
So you had the option of obviously England, Nigeria, and Sri Lanka. So from your mother's side.
Yeah.
Okay. So did you ever think 5 years ago that you'd be representing Sri Lanka?
You know what? It's so funny. You said 5 years ago. 5 years ago was probably the time I was thinking about it. So I go on holiday there probably once or twice a year.
Oh, so you've been there growing up. You've been there.
Yeah,
so you're in touch with your Sri Lankan roots.
Yeah. I got family there. My grandma's there. So we go and visit them. And yeah, literally, I've been and I've seen the standard and I saw what it was. And at the time, I just thought, nah, this isn't for me. So I'd left it. And then, so 2 years ago, I'd gone on holiday again and I'd got in contact with the team manager. So over there, it's a bit different. They say team manager and the coach is the manager, in UK. But team manager, I got into contact with him, spoke to him, told him about, who I was. Because like you said, you look at me, you don't think I'm Sri Lankan. So people are seeing me. So yeah, I'm half Sri Lankan. And yeah, I spoke to him and he said...
So you contacted the team manager at the time?
Yeah, so my mum got in contact with someone.
Your mum got in
Yeah,
contact.
so and then
who was your team manager?
At the time, it was a guy called Sunil.
And this is the national team coach, yeah?
This is the national team manager. Yeah.
So what's the manager is?
Manager is team manager who organises everything. Who, he's...
So you have a first team coach who's in charge of the team.
Yeah, yeah.
And the team manager is responsible for Sri Lankan national team.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
So your mum somehow got in touch with them.
Yeah.
You've had a conversation, and then what happens?
And he said, have I got my passport, basically? So I said to him, no, I haven't. And he said, basically, you have to get your passport in order to play for the national team. So that was a tough part of everything because I had to apply for everything, dual citizenship, get that done. And in that time while that was being done, they invited me to Qatar to go and, it was a training camp, to go and train in a training camp. So I'd gone there, trained, met the players, it was nice to meet everyone, and I played a game against a Qatar 11, and it was good, enjoyed it. It was a good, nice experience, and that made me want to carry on with my dual citizenship.
Okay,
Yeah.
and then 2021 was your first. Was it 2020, 2019? Was it? When did you first actually get involved?
So that was a Qatar trip. 2019, and then my first actual game was 2021. It was this year. It was this year in the summer.
Okay, was that the one in Maldives?
No, that was the one in South Korea against Lebanon and South Korea.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So now, I guess let's talk about this the Sri Lankan experience in terms of you've contacted the team manager.
Yeah.
So you've gone to Qatar. You've played your exhibition game versus 11. At what age were you when you what you were 30?
I was 30. Yeah.
30. So, what was the initial take? Was there a lot of expats, should I say, or foreigners from outside? What's the Sri Lankan structure like?
So they're all full Sri Lankans. No one was like me.
Really? So
yeah.
it's not the novel.
So I think all of them were playing in Sri Lanka at the time, and a couple of them were playing in the Maldives.
So you were the first one?
I was the first. No, you know what? I wasn't. I was the first half Sri Lankan.
Okay.
But there's another guy called Wasim Razik. So he's from Germany, born and raised in Germany.
Okay.
But he's full Sri Lankan, and he played in Germany as well. Anyway, so
What level football was he playing then?
He played in the Bundesliga second division.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Right.
So he's played at a good level.
Right.
And he's a good player as well. So yeah, he was the first, if you want to call it foreigner, dual citizen. So he was the first, and then me and another boy called Dylan from QPR.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So listen, we're going to go to a short break. When we come back, we're going to continue our conversation, learn more about Marvin's Sri Lankan experiences, and let's dive deeper into the structure, what Sri Lankan football is all about. And more recently, he's had some great tournaments, scored an amazing goal, which you're going to see later on as well. And just learn a bit more about the Sri Lankan setup. Welcome back to the Game Changer. Right, so we still have Marvin Hamilton, Sri Lankan international footballer, with us. We finished the conversation just as he started his journey with the international setup over in Sri Lanka. Let's continue that conversation now. So Marvin, you're obviously within the setup. Tell us about Sri Lanka itself in terms of what is the setup like over there in terms of how it differs from here in the UK.
So it's a lot different. Obviously, there's loads of different things. So the condition of like the weather's crazy. So it's super hot.
Okay.
And yeah, there's not a lot of 3Gs there. There's not a lot of artificial grasses. So it's hard to find nice grass over there.
So a lot of people, we've had this conversation around obviously the Bangladesh setup, and so it's going to be very similar.
Yeah.
Is it the heat the reason why they don't have a lot of 3G pitches?
I think so. I think the heat just kills the grass. Yeah. So it's just hard. So yeah, there is the training ground that we've got is 3G. It's not the greatest, but it's all right for them. And there's so it's difficult to, like I said, to get grass. So they use that 3G quite a lot. And one of the funny things is as well that the training facility is like 5 minutes away from my grandma's house.
Okay.
So I used to go past there and not knowing that it was a 3G there. It's literally in between houses, and it's like it's a hidden place. So it's funny. It's just, but it's all right. It's okay. It could be a lot better.
Okay. So the in terms of the setup, we talk about the style of football. We talk about, but just let's have a focus on the structure in terms of what the football seems like in Sri Lanka, and also I'm curious to learn about how the international players, your teammates, when you first went, being the first, I guess, outsider, someone who's come from abroad.
Yeah.
What was that like?
So you know what? They were very, very welcoming. The first time I met the team, so I'd flown from UK to Qatar, and I landed at 3 a.m. or something silly like that. And the team manager picked me up, greeted me, picked me up, took me to the hotel straight away. And I was rooming with the captain. So as soon as I've gone in the room, I saw him just wake up straight away, and he came in and introduced himself, and he, made me feel very, very welcome. So that was nice. And then after they done like a little bit of an introduction when they, saw me in training in the morning, and everyone came around and introduced themselves, and it was nice. It wasn't hostile at all.
Okay.
I was surprised, to be fair. I was very surprised.
So a lot of these players, do they play in a Sri Lankan league? I know we talked
Yeah.
about it. You recently just started the Super League out
Yeah.
there, right? But what was the setup before that then?
So before that, I'm not too sure about it, but I know they had a few different leagues, just like where the region of the country is. And all I sort of knew was that Colombo FC was a big club, and that's where my mum was born and raised, and I didn't live too far from where they played. So I'd seen a game, and I think it was just a friendly. It was like something to do with the army and the club. And it was okay. It was okay.
But what about facilities, stadiums? What's the infrastructure like? Is it set up for football? Is football their number one sport, or is it cricket?
Nah, cricket's their number one sport. Yeah, they love cricket. And there's a few other sports that I would say that are above football as well. Yeah, I would say probably rugby.
Really?
Yeah. Surprisingly, rugby's is up there. I think maybe tennis is probably a big one out there, and probably basketball too. Yeah, and then football comes, quite low. But now, like from when I joined and when I started with the national team, it started to rise, and I could.
Do you think you've had an influence on that? I'm not trying to blow smoke up your.
Yeah.
But really, I think in terms of here in the UK, similar to there. Obviously, I follow you on socials and I watch the non-league circuit. But even through the SAF Cup, your involvement seems to have generated a bit of interest here in the UK as well. Has that had an impact over there?
I feel like it has, maybe not just because of who I am, but because I'm doing okay on the pitch. If you're playing well and you're scoring goals and doing bits for the country, then I think, a lot of people will become more interested. So I think, literally just because I'm doing well for the national team, I feel like there's been a bit more interest, yeah.
All right, so since you've joined, and obviously they've seen the impact you've had on the pitch in terms of, because it's always, ultimately it's about the impact on the pitch.
Yeah.
So has the coach, the coach, the manager, / manager, has he changed since you first joined? Is it the same guy? And has their appetite to go and explore opportunities away from Sri Lanka to improve possibly the standard of football, has that gone up? Has there been an increase in the number of players coming out from outside of Sri Lanka to go represent the country? Yeah,
so I would say the first manager was when I went to Qatar. He was a different manager. Okay. So the second one that was there when I first played for the national team, he's currently still there.
Okay.
He's done really well.
Is he Sri Lankan?
No, he's not. He's German.
Okay.
German, Australian, and he's something else. So he's got a mix. he's similar to me, to be fair. And he's got an idea. He's got a blueprint, and he's trying to implement it all the time. So with him, it's difficult as well, because when you've had like a culture, or you've had coaches do something for the last 20 years, the same thing, it's difficult to change that,
So who selects the players? Is it up to the coach?
It's up to the coach, yeah.
So he 100%. Your federation has no involvement in selection.
In my eyes, I think it's the coach.
Okay.
I think it's the coach, yeah.
All right. So now, in terms of opportunities, so the top club in Sri Lanka, who would that be at the moment?
I think it's Colombo FC because I think a lot of people know them outside of Sri Lanka. You know, like you said, they started the Super League, which is it got stopped as well because of COVID. But it's over 10 games, so I think there's 10 teams, so 10 games. And it's the first time they've done like a professional league and a professional setup. So,
do foreign players play in the leagues?
Yeah, so you're allowed, I think, 4 foreigners to come over and play in each team. And I was going to play for a team. I was going to sign for a team because I had to basically be in Sri Lanka to finish my dual citizenship.
Okay.
So I was going to go there, stay there, wait for it to be done, and then play for a team as well. But because of COVID, you know, stuff messed up, and it was just getting a little bit long. So I just left it. But I saw a few games and it looked a lot better than the last game I saw before.
And in terms of the infrastructure, like for example, similar things happen in Bangladesh, but they tend to play the games in one facility or two facilities. Does that happen in Sri Lanka as well?
Yeah, there was one stadium that all the games were played in, yeah.
So in terms of you go out there quite regularly, but in terms of how many stadiums do they have access to for teams to play in?
As far as I'm aware of, there's 3 stadiums.
And all the teams will play out of these 3 stadiums?
And yeah.
So no one team has their home pitch?
Own stadium, no.
Really?
No, yeah.
Wow.
So it's, I think they rent the stadiums.
So there is a long way, in terms of infrastructure, in terms of football, Sri Lanka have got a long way to go.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah,
so, and you touched on the manager having a blueprint. I think I'm preempting this, but it sounds like you don't really know whether the federation have a role to play in that, or does that come from the manager, or does that?
So the coach is a technical director as well of the country. So I think he just works with himself, you know, and I think he's got a tough job. You know how hard it is to change people's minds and to, you know, especially over COVID, because we didn't play a game over 2 years we didn't play a game, so.
So when you get together in these international camps over the since you first joined, how long is a camp? How long could it be?
It could be up to a month. It could be 2 weeks to a month.
Just so you're flying out from here.
Yeah.
So you're now leaving your family.
Yeah.
You have a young boy who's 5 now. You're leaving work.
Yeah.
You're leaving your non-league.
Yeah.
What impact does that have on you over here? Because ultimately, it's your time. International football. I was surprised to learn when I had Jamie Day on that international footballers don't get paid because they're on contracts with their clubs. You're playing non-league football here. So what people will be surprised to learn is it's costing you to go. You know, you're not getting a reward of it. What you're giving to your country is the pride of playing for your national team.
Yeah.
How does everybody around you feel about that?
You know what? I don't think a lot of people know. You know, like I said at the start, it's I'm a big person on doing what you love. You know, so and I'd love to go and play for my country. I'd love to go and experience new things, and the sacrifices that come with it, you have to deal with it, and that's what you got to do.
Okay, so listen, I asked the same question to Jamie Day. I will ask the same question to you. You've been involved in, as Jamie was, you know the non-league circuit, you know the standard. When you first went out, what was your first impression of Sri Lankan football and South Asian football? If you had to compare it then, so your first game...
First real competitive game was against Lebanon.
Lebanon?
Yeah. Okay,
so how would you describe the standard? When you went onto the pitch and you played and you thought, the first 10 minutes, what were you thinking? How would you describe the level of football?
Against the opposition or?
Let's talk about Sri Lanka.
Okay,
where is it at, honestly? Hand on heart, where would you have said, when you first went out there, what was your first impressions?
I would say, it's difficult because, there's a mixture of abilities. So I would say some could play probably Rhyme and Prem, and then some will be a little bit below that. And my first impression was probably just to, see what impact what can I bring to the table? I'm coming from a different country. Can I bring something different or something positive to the team? But the opposition, playing against opposition was like playing against Championship League One side. It was
exactly what you said.
It was a huge difference, and they just, we literally defended the whole game, this first game, and we scored 2 goals. We went 1-0 up, so we done the miracle stuff, and Yeah, and we ended up losing 3-2, but it was a good experience. I felt like we hadn't played a game for over 2 years.
Yeah.
So it was difficult for everyone, you know. So it was literally just to see where we're going to be, where we're going to, you know, how can we manage the game, and how long we can defend for. And that's what it was.
Yeah. So the better players, you say, Ram and Prem.
Yeah.
They're not in terms of the average players. You're looking at step 5, step 4.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, that's interesting because I think Jamie said pretty much the same thing.
Okay.
And I think, is it a case of, in terms of when you attend, when you're going away on the international camps, your manager or your technical coach, how is he setting you up to play? Is he, like Jamie said, he had to be pragmatic. He realised early on, technically we're not as good as our opponent. So we then have to get numbers behind the ball and look to hit them on the counter and hope that we get a result and nick the odd goal, because it was a long-term project.
Yeah.
Does your coach, and do you see your technical director, your coach, manager, feeling the same way, doing similar things? And is it a pragmatic approach, thinking that we can, you know, let's not concede loads and let's see if we can nick a win?
100%. It's exactly that. Exactly the same, like you said. I think the manager was thinking the same. You know, I think we're ranked 205th in the world, and we was playing against Lebanon, who was, I can't remember the number. I think there was something like 100th in the world.
This was the World Cup qualifier.
This is World Cup qualifier.
So describe this moment. So you've gone to, where was this game?
South Korea.
South Korea. Oh my God. Okay.
Yeah.
So
I was living 2 lives. You know, I was playing non-league here, semi-professional, and then when I went to international, it was literally everything was done for you, and it was just, you know, top tier class stuff. Like everything.
So what kind of crowds were you playing in front of?
It was during COVID, so
you didn't have
there was a crowd, but it wasn't full packed. It was you know, they couldn't sit together. But yeah, playing against South Korea as well, it was literally the last game they played, they lost 8-0 against South Korea in that group stage. So this game, when some of the new boys played, we had to, you know, the numbers game, we had to get behind the ball and you know, just defend really. And it was 5-0, which is a good score for us, because South Korea are 36th in the world and we're 205th. Oh, yeah. And literally, we got part-time football players playing against full-time professionals playing in Bundesliga, in the Prem, you know, crazy leagues, and we had to just set up, you know, to defend basically. And we had a man sent off in the 50th, 60th minute, and at the time it was 5-0, and we didn't concede for like, you know, 25 minutes, half an hour, which is a positive for us. Yeah. You know. Okay.
Yeah. And just in terms of the playing style, we talked about how it differed when you went to Cyprus. How does international football, or particularly playing for Sri Lanka, differ to non-league football and your football here?
It's a bit more reserved, a bit more. They hold back a lot more, respect each other a lot more.
So what does that mean for how do you have to adapt your game?
I just have to, you know, find space basically, because they try and, you know, the teams that we've played against them basically twice. So the first time we played against them was in the South Championship, and it was a little bit new. They didn't know how we was going to approach it. We approached it as, let's see where we're at now, playing against you know, our region. So we just kind of went at it, and then we kind of held back. So it was a bit of a back and forth sort of thing. But the most recent tournament that we had, we just went at it, and that's where we was the most successful.
Okay, so World Cup qualifiers, you've gone past that, and then your next tournament was the SAF Championship. Describe that and the types of, for those that don't know the SAF, just tell us about SAF.
So SAF is it's a South Asian tournament, and it's held in, you know, either one of the countries, Maldives, Sri Lanka, India, Bhutan, Nepal. I think there's another country, Bangladesh as well. Sorry, I can't forget that.
Can't forget that one.
And so basically, it's held in one of these countries in every 2 years.
So where were you this time?
And this time was in Maldives.
Maldives. Okay.
Yeah, so it was my first time in Maldives. Crazy.
Not bad. Can't argue with that.
Nah, nice country, super nice country, and so yeah, it's basically the Euros of the South.
So how many games are you playing? Because this is the thing I can't get my head around.
Yeah.
You're there for how many days?
2 weeks.
And you played how many games in 2 weeks?
We played 5 games.
And again, in different stadiums, or were you playing all the games?
Everyone was playing at the same stadium.
Oh my God.
So that sometimes there was 2 games at once. So one team would play in the afternoon, 4:30, when it was scorching hot. It was blazing hot. Like you
how do you adjust to that?
You can't.
So what literally, what is it? Do they have water breaks? And
no water breaks. We didn't have no water breaks at all. Most of the players there are used to it. So it's only me and the other boys that are just, coming from cold countries that are not used to it, and the time difference. So we have to make crazy adjustments. It's difficult. It's not like the first game. I don't think I played the first 60 minutes. I was just running around like hot, sweating, doing nothing. And the last 30, I kind of adjusted, and it's difficult, And then the coach, he understands that. So I actually, one of the games, you have to come off. You can't last, because we're playing one game, 2 days rest. Well, not even 2 days rest. We're 1 day rest, train again, and then another game. Wow. So in the space, we're playing 5 games in like 9 days.
And how did you get on in this tournament?
The South Championship, we didn't do too well. We finished bottom of the group.
Okay.
Yeah. So we played.
Did you play against Bangladesh?
We played against Bangladesh.
Okay. I'm curious to learn in terms of what you thought the standard was like.
I'm not sure. I think it was our second or third game. So I'm still. This is still new to me. So I wasn't too sure.
What was the score of that game?
Against Bangladesh, I think we lost 1-0.
1-0.
And it was it was a penalty.
Yeah.
That was never a penalty.
Yes.
It was and we had a player sent off, and they scored the pen. So 1-0 against Bangladesh was good for us. It was good for us, 1-0 against Maldives again. That was good for us as well. And 0-0 against India, which was outstanding. Outstanding for us.
Okay.
And then 3-2 against Nepal, when we scored 2 goals and we was doing really well. That's good for us as well,
Okay, and from SAF, you then go on to the Four Nations.
Yeah.
This was a bit better for you in terms of results. How did that go?
Yeah, it was good.
And the Four Nations, tell about the Four Nations that are playing in this.
Yeah, so Four Nations, it changes sometimes. So normally, I think they invite one country from outside of Asia. Mm-hmm. So it was Seychelles, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh and Maldives. And it's we're the host, Sri Lanka are the hosts of this tournament. And it was held in Sri Lanka as well. So because we played against these teams already, and it was pretty fresh because it was only a month ago, we kind of knew how they would play, and we could make adjustments.
So you did make adjustments?
Yeah. Okay. So we've got an analysis.
Before I come to the next question, just quickly, just in terms of, we've touched on the overseas players. How many currently overseas players do you have in the Sri Lankan team?
Currently now 3.
There's 3 yourself? Of us.
Me, Wasim Razik from Germany, and Dylan De Silva, who's from QPR in England as well.
Okay. So do you think that's the way forward?
I think it's a positive thing and it helps, 100%. Yeah.
In just adding the experience and the quality, or is it just...
adding the difference, if you've got one type of player and there's, 20 of one type of player, then, it's difficult to...
It sounds to me as if the addition of you and the other 2 lads has had an impact on the international team. Would you say that? And have you seen a different buzz around the international scene and with the Sri Lankan team itself?
Most definitely. I like to be humble, but the last 14 goals that we scored, there was 3 of us had scored them, plus 1 local.
Okay.
So the last 14 goals that we scored,
their stats speak for themselves, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go back to the Four Nations. You've played this stuff. What did you learn? You said you had it the likes of Bangladesh. You played them. So what did you learn, and how did you adapt your game going into the Four Nations?
My game, I would say that I could have an impact going forward. I'm pretty much a defensive player, but I can have an impact going forward. So that's whether I'm playing, trying to play key passes or try and have a shot at goal, which is stuff that I try to implement in my game in the Four Nations.
Okay, so you got to the final in this one, right?
Yeah.
So what were the scores going through the group stages?
So the first game, we was 4-0 down against Maldives.
Wow. And
we came back 4-4.
Okay.
Wasim scored 4 goals.
So that again goes back to the quality, right? He's playing Bundesliga Division 2.
Yeah.
And that just shows, okay, cool.
Yeah, so that was a crazy game. The second game was against Seychelles, and we had lost 1-0.
Okay.
Set piece. They had a player who was 6'5", and if you know Sri Lanka's quite short.
Yeah.
Me and I think another player are probably the only players that are 6 foot plus.
Okay.
And the guy was 6'5", he just beasted it.
Yeah.
And then we played against Bangladesh.
Yep.
And we was losing 1-0. and we got a man sent off.
I heard about this, yeah.
We scored 2 goals, and we done the miracle again. We won that game.
And your keeper saved the penalty, right?
Keeper saved the penalty as well. Sijan saved the penalty, and that's the game that got us to the final.
And did you scored in the final?
I scored in the final, yeah.
So you played. Who did you play in the final?
Seychelles.
Seychelles. Now tell us about the final. What was that experience about? And like.
So this was something because
this would have been your first, like, even at non-league level, you've not been in many finals.
No.
So you're international, you're playing for Sri Lanka, and you're playing in the Four Nations final.
Yeah.
What are you thinking going into it? What's the build-up to that like?
It was so good, you know, like, because all we was talking about is that Sri Lanka haven't been in the final. You know, the last time they was in the final was 15 years ago. So, you know, you can imagine how long ago that was, and it was just making the country happy. You could see there was a big buzz around, you know, everywhere, and there was, you know, there was fans. There was loads.
Where was the
fans.
game held? Where was the final held?
The final was held in Sri Lanka, in our
which stadium
home stadium.
is
In our home stadium is the race course.
Okay.
Yeah. So
capacity?
I can't remember off the top of my head. I want to say it was something about 5,000 or 6,000.
You had
that was our fans.
Oh wow. Okay.
And this was they had a limit as well because of COVID. Yeah. But yeah, so there was a massive buzz. The fans were non-stop, and it was a good feeling. We scored first as well. Yeah. And I scored from near the halfway line. And my mum was there. She was there at the game, so it was nice for her to see. And I had other family there as well, so which was good. And yeah, literally, we went 3-1 up, cruising. We was in cruise control. We had a few injuries as well. That key players that we didn't play because the pitch wasn't great. That game had to be played because we had the FIFA president coming to watch the game.
Wow.
So he was only coming in for 1 day, so the game had to be played. The conditions weren't great. The pitch was poor. It rained. It was muddy. It was a mud bath everywhere, and they went for it in the last 10 minutes, and we just couldn't hack the pressure. We couldn't hack it, and they ended up scoring 2 in the last couple of minutes, and it went to penalties. And then
did you take a penalty?
Yeah, I did.
Did you score?
No, I lost. I missed my penalty.
Oh,
I took the first penalty. They took the first penalty. They missed, and then I took mine, and I missed. And yeah, and then we just going back and forth, missing. Everyone's missing. I think 1 or 2 people scored, and that was it.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, listen. Well done on that. At least the
Thank
main
you.
thing is development, is progress. So what's the future? I know you can't talk much about the federation in terms of, but if there was 3 things that you could change over the next coming year or so, what would be your priority as an outsider coming in? From what you see,
3 things I would say: pushing football in schools, to push kids to go and play football.
Grassroots.
Yeah, grassroots. To build more facilities for them to be able to play football, and I would make it a little bit easier for televised stuff. Get it out in social media. Play against other nations, not just the Asian nations. Try and go to other continents, and just use. It's mainly about the grassroots. Building the kids' brains to see a future in football, because a lot of them want to play football, but they don't see a future in football, so they just stop playing.
Yeah.
So hopefully, people like me and the others can show them that there is a future in football, and there's a career path that way. And then they can go for it. So there's 22 million people in Sri Lanka, So it's not like it's a very, very small country, but it's, you can find diamonds.
Yeah, and like I say, it sounds like it as well. Listen, we're out of time for the show today, but Marvin, I just say massive thank you. Your journey is inspirational. I think there's going to be a lot of youngsters watching. I know through this we're going to get a lot of, this is going to go out and it's going to be shared across Sri Lanka as well, we hope as well. The Bangladesh scene is very lively. They're very interested in what's going on across the South Asian, the continent itself. And I know you're a player that people are very much aware of. So your time has been very appreciated.
No, thank you.
From everybody here at TV1 and the Game Changer in particular, we just want to say congratulations on the work that you're doing at the moment and the work that you're going on. It sounds to me as if the Sri Lankan Federation are going in the right direction. And I think from a selfish perspective, it's maybe something that we could learn ourselves from a Bangladesh Federation, that the impact non-resident Bangladeshis or Sri Lankans or Indians or Pakistanis can have on the football scene over there, and for their international. If you've got players playing non-league football, a good level of non-league, you know, your South Conference South, Ram and Prem, they are going to have an impact. Because you're the second person. Jamie Day said it, you said it, that the level is probably Ram and Prem and below. If you've got players in this country of dual nationality, of mixed heritage, why would you not go out and reach out if it's going to improve your teams and squad? So well done to the Sri Lankan FA for finding the gems. And like Marv said, also, it's up to players. If you're an Indian or a Bangladeshi or Pakistani or a Sri Lankan who's playing currently in the non-league setup, the door's there. Contact the football federations over there, right? And see if you can get yourself a trial. Because and those youngsters that are playing, don't give up. Non-league, if you're aged 18 to 23, the opportunities are there. I know there's so many Asians out there playing non-league football. Don't give up on your dreams. And I think Marvin is a prime example of that. And go out there and live it. So Marvin, thank you again for your time. Really appreciate it. Guys, you've been watching The Game Changer. This is what it's about. These are the individuals, the role models that we want more of. And hopefully we can share other journeys with you over the coming months and years on the show. So Marvin, thanks again for your time. Until next time, I've been Imro Ghazi. You've been watching The Game Changer.